Hey guys, so I want to come on here and do this review of 90 Day Fiance. And I told you guys that they separate the episodes now. They'll give you an early premiere of the first hour of the 90 Day Fiance. So I want to do 90 Day Fiance season 4, the first hour, and then I'll obviously come back and give you the rest. But we always have to do a separate part for Seether because that's a mess. But in any event, this episode actually starts with Rebecca and Ziad. Now, Rebecca irritated me through this entire scenario, and it speaks to a mentality where I don't know if you guys notice on these shows where you have a number of different people from within the dominant society who act like they have an inability to accept other people's culture. And because throughout history, for the longest in modern history, people have been trying to adapt to their culture so much that even when they willingly get into relationships with people of other cultures, they don't have any respect for them. So Rebecca went with Ziad to meet his friends for a soccer game. Okay, now I want to do a sidebar because I don't know if you guys noticed how his friends look. And his friend made a comment. One of his friends made a comment about Ziad, who is actually white. He's a white Tunisian. He's a white North African man. How he looked really white. I don't know if you guys caught that. I don't know if you guys caught that comment. But I wanted to say this. Tunisia, the African country, okay? Once the entire continent of Africa, including Northern Africa, was only occupied with dark Africans. With the help of black men, you now have people like Ziad and his friends who are now the main inhabitants of North Africa. And that's a problem, and it's no longer associated with the dark Africans who once only occupied it. But anyway, I wanted to comment on that because I don't know if you guys caught that comment that his friend made about him looking really white, and he said it in a manner to where it almost was like a bad thing. But anyway, so one of the things that stood out to me was that one of the friends commented on the difference between how Rebecca looked without her 50 filters. He mentioned the fact that he saw her with all of them filters, and granted, the filters make her look really good, but now he's like, Rebecca looks really different now that she doesn't have all those filters. And Ziad made a comment about that too, but I think because he has the perception that Rebecca is the sugar mama, he's tolerating her despite the fact that she looks nothing like how she said. But Rebecca made a comment through this because they were asking her about her age. And one thing that I don't like or appreciate about people, either men or women, who get into these relationships with younger people and then have some kind of insecurity over it. But she made the comment that a young man in America wouldn't ask a woman her age. Like, seriously. Like, she literally seriously said this. I'm gonna need people to stop getting into relationships with younger people and then having insecurities when they have to be around their young friends. I swear to you, every single woman on this show is extremely insecure. It's almost like by process of doing this show, they're trying to purge all of their insecurities. Like, she has an insecurity over how she looks, over her age, over her weight, over her culture. It's just like, I mean, go get some counseling. That's why she needs those 50 filters. But all those filters is not going to wash away the fact that you're still a 47-year-old woman who is seeking younger men and then getting insecure when you have to be around them. Like, she's just a ball of insecurity. Then to add to that, she refused to respect the fact that she's in a Muslim country. And she literally even said, I know that I'm in a different culture, in a different country, but I'm still going to do whatever I want to do. Like, that's so insulting because on the flip side, when you watch 90 Day Fiance, you see a lot of these people wanting the foreign person to adapt to their culture. They often don't even want them to speak their own language. So it's very insulting and disrespectful for her to say she's going to disregard his culture and dress the way that she wants to. Ziad wanted her to cover up and respect the culture. He kept telling her, this is Tunisia, this is a Muslim country. The women dress a certain way here. She knows that it's like, bitch, even Janet Jackson covered up in Dubai. Like, really? Even Janet Jackson had the sense to cover up when she went to Dubai and married the billionaire. She adapted to the Muslim culture out of respect because she knows she's in a Muslim country. They can't do that. And it's with Avery and her mom, it's the same situation, and it irritates me. Like, she refused to cover up and put on a shirt that he saw as appropriate. She literally, in my opinion, emasculated him right there, told him she's wearing what she wants to wear, and then instructed him to put his shoes on. Unbelievable. But let's get to Darcy. Darcy literally spent the whole hour of this show crying. And that's why I told you guys, it's not going to work out. She spent most of her time with Tim crying. Tim made mention of how unattractive it is to have to deal with someone who's overly emotional, especially on the first date. Darcy cried when she thought Tim did something nice for her. She cried when she thought she was sleeping in another room. She cried when she saw her room. She cried when she saw Tim's room. She cried when Tim said he was expecting to sleep in his own room. She cried when Tim said he wanted to get to know her. This is the quiet crying as 45-year-old woman I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's why I'm telling you, the insecurities and the hyper emotionality that these women show in this show, it's just really ridiculous. And I don't blame him. It's not attractive to me either, especially on a first date, because she's resting everything on the fact that she met him 4 years ago. But he's like, this is the first time I've met you and spent time with you. This should be a time where you're sitting down, you're having drinks, you're letting the natural process of it happen. But she doesn't want that. She wants him to meet her, immediately jump in the bed with her, and if not, she's going to throw a tantrum like a child and start crying. And he kind of talked about how she felt like he was dealing with the child as well. Although Darcy is saying she's known him for 4 years, clearly you don't know him that well to know that you take the relationship more seriously than he does. It doesn't, like, she's just never going to have a successful relationship until she grows up emotionally. And I don't think that that's going to change. Why would it change? She's already in her 40s. But basically, Darcy spent this entire episode crying. And yes, for the people who put it in there last time, yes, I did see Tim's sister, who is extremely big, and she's dating this tiny little black man who didn't even make a peep and who was sitting there in all of his feminine essence. It was just really gross to see. I mean, he didn't even really say anything, so I didn't know whether he was her assistant or her spouse, but really they need to go into the Who They Really Choose series. But I digress. Caesar reminds me of a Christian. I know that he has to be a Christian. Caesar has to be a Christian because his faith in Maria supposedly liking him is astronomical. Maria does not care one thing about him. Maria simply doesn't care. She doesn't. Caesar in this episode stated that he hasn't heard from Maria in a number of different days. He's set to fly out to Mexico to meet her. Okay. Everybody has told Caesar. He's even met up with his friend at the nail shop who told him, you know, she's sitting here giving excuses saying that it's her mother's birthday and suddenly she can't go. She done spent the $2,000 that he gave her. So Caesar then decides to pay his rent to get her another ticket. The chick he knew at the nail salon said, why don't you just book her ticket now, tell her you booked the ticket, then she has to show up. Caesar pretends that he has some common sense and says that he is mad because it's almost like she's making up excuses. It's like, it's not almost like she's making up excuses. She is making up excuses. She's not going to show up in Cancun. I promise you guys. She is not going to show up. That's just a reality. So Caesar ultimately ends up still getting on the plane, convincing himself that somehow Maria's not going to stand him up. She's going to make it there. It's like people who are in love with each other, they don't grow distance. So he sits there and says, oh, it seems like she's growing distant from me. It's like, okay, well then how are you then justifying that when she doesn't love you? Like, people generally get back when they know on the date you're supposed to be meeting them somewhere, they don't not respond to you. So he said he hadn't heard from her in 3 days. And that's clearly a concerted effort because she doesn't want to meet him. It's not a coincidence that every time she's supposed to meet him, she literally just likes the money. Because even in that 1 hour of the show, he had already talked about like $3,500 that he had ultimately. He told her to keep the $2,000. He's breaking himself, living off of these noodles. That's why he's sloppy, can't lose weight, can't pay the money. Like, see, there's just a whole mess. But ultimately, he got on that plane, convinced himself that Maria wanted him, and then flew out. Avery and her mom goes with Omar to pick out a wedding dress. And in this situation, this is another situation that annoys me, because Avery's mom sat up here and constantly complained once again about the Muslim culture. You know that you're visiting a Muslim country. You know that they expect a woman to cover up. Why are you there? She's sitting there talking about, oh, so are we going to tell Omar what he gets to wear? Why would you? You know what that culture is. You know what it is. And then when you get into the country now, all of a sudden you have a problem with it. This is why I say no respect for other people's cultures. But it's because when a group of people have always had somebody trying to accommodate them, then even when they are faced with the same people, but different cultures, they still don't want to respect it. Don't want to respect the Muslim culture at all. Like, why are you even there? Why would you even go to a Muslim culture not thinking that they're going to change their culture to accommodate you? That's not how it works. You can wear a hijab or cover up for one time while you're in somebody's culture. And if you don't want to adapt to that culture, then simply don't marry within it. Don't expect them to come over here accommodating you. So ultimately, Avery ends up getting a dress that was a little form-fitting but still covered up. And her mom is saying that she doesn't think that that's going to be a lasting relationship, because she's saying Avery wants to basically go back to her ways of dressing the way that she wanted to dress. But I think that Avery would do best, if she really likes that Muslim lifestyle, to keep her mom out of her business, because this would just be one of those situations where her mom would try to influence her to be a way that she shouldn't be. Now, Angela and Michael, y'all already know how I feel. This is why we have problems, Michael. It's like, if you don't take those old dusty eggs, like, I can't with her. But there was nothing to see there. What I did see, though, was Benjamin and Akini. Okay, so they went into Akini's village in Kenya, and it really bothered me, because I'm looking at the continent that literally has the most wealth in natural resources, but they're living impoverished. And I feel like they specifically show that to give you a perception of Africa that the dominant society has, where they think everyone lives in mud huts and everybody is poor. But basically, Akini and her sister are talking and having a conversation. Akini talks about how she never really been around a white person. She didn't expect to date a white man. However, she believes that white people have money. So ultimately, her thing is that she's trying to get out of that Kenyan village, and she feels like that white man is symbolic of her getting out of that, because she said that her family, i.e., most importantly, her father, feels like white people are a problem. And she's talking about how protective her brother is, and the fact that they will have to basically win over her brother and her father, as they should, in order to marry her. Also, it sounds like they have a dowry to pay as well, because Benjamin mentioned he would have to pay the marriage fee, which is essentially a dowry that they have to pay as well. So it kind of sounds like in every culture outside of American culture, you have to pay to get their hand in marriage. So it's mostly about resources, which it should. They don't want you marrying into the family with no resources. But Akini's sister said that Akini has a fetish for white people, basically. She said Akini just loves white people. From Akini's perspective, it sounds like she loves white people because she associates them with money. But one thing that stood out is that she said that she doesn't want to come in being anybody's mother. She's young, and she doesn't want to be a stepmom to anyone. So I think obviously their biggest conflict is going to be that Benjamin is looking for a black woman to raise his mixed child, and Akini is basically saying she ain't that woman, you need to go find somebody else. But I wonder how she's going to pitch that, considering that's what he wants, and she seems to want out of that village and want money. The bottom line of it is Akini is the upgrade for him. She's pretty, he's regular and basic. So if you look at the exchange, then it would be reasonable for her to want money. But I mean, we'll see how the other half goes. That one is airing, and I'll watch that one and review that one as well. And I think I'll do these reviews like this, where I do a review on the first episode, on the first hour when it airs, and then I'll come back and do a review on the second hour. But you guys let me know what you think. Thanks for everybody for pointing out the washed up whale that was Tim's sister and her tiny little raccoon that she was dating. That's in the, and the thing of it is, that's in England, so that's why I say foreign or domestic, this is who they choose. But you guys let me know what you think. Thank you for your support. That was the review for episode 4, hour 1 of 90 Day Fiance Before the 90 Days. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video. I'll see you in the next one.